the quiet corridors of a bustling hospital, where the rhythmic shuffle of hurried footsteps echoes against polished floors and the steady beeping of monitors hums through the air like a heartbeat, a deeply human story begins to unfold. It is a story of pain, of resilience, and of the quiet but profound strength carried by a young boy who has already seen more hardship than most do in a lifetime. It all started with a swollen mouth, grotesquely inflamed. The skin stretched taut over the painful mass beneath. The moment the attending physician saw Marcus, concern flooded his expression. There was no hesitation. He swiftly alerted hospital officials, triggering a chain reaction of urgency. Within minutes, the medical team had assembled, their movements sharp, focused, and precise. The ordinary rhythm of the hospital was replaced with a pulse of critical response. Inside a brightly lit examination room, 11-year-old Marcus sat motionless on the exam table. His small frame seemed even more fragile under the harsh fluorescent lights. His hands were clenched tightly in his lap, knuckles white, as though holding himself together by sheer will. His eyes, quiet, distant, and too old for his young face, stared straight ahead. He didn't cry, he didn't speak. Pain had become something he wore like a second skin. The swelling in his mouth had developed into a severe and untreated infection. Now an aggressive tumor pressing against nerves and tissue. It distorted his speech, made eating almost impossible, and caused a constant, throbbing agony. This was not an injury from yesterday or even last week. It was the culmination of months of silent suffering. Standing beside Marcus was his mother, Mara. Her disheveled appearance told its own story. Sunken eyes, unwashed hair, arms wrapped protectively around herself. She watched her son with a mix of deep love and hollow despair. There was once a time when she had been full of warmth and energy, but years of battling addiction had left her diminished. Though her love for Marcus was unwavering, her ability to care for him had been worn thin by the weight of her own demons. Then, the door opened, and Dr. Thomas Nolan stepped in. There was a quiet authority about him, a calmness that often comforted both patients and staff. A veteran pediatrician known not only for his skill but for his empathy. Dr. Nolan took in the scene with a single glance. The tension, the boy's condition, the mother's unraveling. He understood it all in an instant. He didn't speak from across the room. Instead, he walked over and gently knelt to Marcus's level, his voice low and kind, careful not to frighten. "Hi there, Marcus," he said, offering a soft smile. "I'm Dr. Nolan. Can you tell me how long your mouth has been hurting?" The room held its breath. Marcus looked toward his mother, searching her face for an answer he wasn't sure he could give. His lips parted slightly, and after a long pause, he whispered, "A long time." Dr. Nolan nodded slowly, his heart aching at the quiet admission. He reached for his gloves and began a careful examination. Every movement was deliberate and gentle, showing Marcus that, finally, someone was here not just to observe his pain, but to do something about it. What Dr. Nolan saw confirmed his fears. This infection hadn't developed overnight. It was the tragic result of extended neglect, likely compounded by poverty, instability, and Mara's own incapacities. But this was not a moment for judgment. It was a call to action, and so began a journey, not just to treat an illness, but to begin healing a family. "Hi there, Marcus," Dr. Nolan said gently, his voice calm and steady, like a hand reaching out in the dark. "I'm Dr. Nolan. Can you tell me how long your mouth has been hurting?" The room fell into a thick, heavy silence. Marcus lowered his gaze, his small shoulders stiff with uncertainty. His eyes drifted toward his mother, silently pleading, whether for permission to speak or the reassurance that it was safe to answer. Even he didn't quite know. After a long pause, he finally whispered, "A long time." The quiet words cut deep. Dr. Nolan's chest tightened. He leaned in and gently began examining Marcus's mouth, taking extra care not to cause more pain. What he saw confirmed his worst fears. The infection had not only spread but had likely been present for weeks, maybe even months. This wasn't just a health emergency, it was a window into a deeper, more painful reality, a child caught in the shadow of chronic neglect. Knowing time was of the essence, Dr. Nolan started immediate treatment. He prescribed strong antibiotics to fight the aggressive infection and administered medication to ease Marcus's pain. Still, the medical response alone wasn't enough. Marcus needed more than what his current environment could give. So, with a heavy heart, Dr. Nolan stepped into his office and made the call he wished he didn't have to make. He dialed Child Protective Services, his voice calm but deliberate as he explained the gravity of Marcus's condition. He shared his observations with clarity and care, not just the medical facts, but the broader concerns about Mara's ability to provide consistent and safe care. Within hours, a social worker arrived at the hospital. Her name was Lisa Carter, a seasoned professional known not only for her knowledge but for her deep well of compassion. She moved with purpose, yet there was nothing harsh in her demeanor. Dr. Nolan met her in the hallway and carefully walked her through Marcus's case, his condition, his emotional state, and Mara's background. He emphasized the complexity of the situation. This wasn't about pointing fingers, it was about offering a lifeline. Lisa nodded as she listened, her expression focused but warm. She had been here before, in countless other rooms, with countless other families, and she knew that judgment had never helped a child heal. Empathy had, support had. She soon found Mara in the waiting area, seated alone in a rigid plastic chair, her hands trembling in her lap. The fluorescent lighting seemed to magnify the exhaustion and fear etched into her face. Lisa approached slowly, her voice soft and steady. "Mara," she asked, "I'm Lisa Carter. I'm here to help you and Marcus." Mara looked up, her face pale and streaked with worry. Her voice, when it came, cracked beneath the weight of her fear. "Are you going to take him away from me?" Lisa sat beside her, close enough to feel like an ally, not an adversary. She took a deep breath and chose her words with care. "My goal is to make sure Marcus is safe and healthy," she said gently, "and to help you get the support you need, so you can be the mother you want to be, and the mother he deserves." Tears welled up in Mara's eyes. Her lip trembled as she tried to speak. "I don't want to lose him," she whispered. Lisa reached out, placing a reassuring hand on Mara's arm. "Then let's work together. There's a rehabilitation program I can connect you with. If you're willing to begin treatment, we'll make sure Marcus is looked after and supported while you focus on healing." This isn't about punishment, it's about giving both of you a second chance. The weight of the moment settled between them. For a long time, Mara said nothing, but then, through fear, through shame, and through the fragile thread of hope, she gave a small, determined nod. Her voice, though quiet, held the first notes of resolve. "Okay," she said, "I'll do it." Meanwhile, Dr. Nolan and his team prepared Marcus for surgery. The tumor in his mouth needed to be removed with precision to prevent further complications. The operation was delicate, but successful. When Marcus awoke, the constant, throbbing pain that had haunted him for months was gone. For the first time in what felt like forever, he smiled, a small, tentative smile, but a smile nonetheless. It was a glimmer of something deeper, relief, safety, and the first spark of healing. Over the following weeks, Marcus was placed with a kind and nurturing foster family. They welcomed him into their home with open arms, making sure he took his medications on time and never missed a follow-up appointment. Though he was safe and cared for, Marcus missed his mother deeply. Still, he understood, on a level beyond his years, that she was somewhere getting better, fighting to become the parent he needed, to help bridge the distance. The foster parents gently encouraged Marcus to express himself through art. He began drawing pictures, scenes of home, of memories with his mom, and of hopes for their future. Each picture he created was delivered by Lisa Carter during her regular visits to the rehabilitation center where Mara was undergoing treatment. The drawings became Mara's lifeline. Each one reminded her of why she was enduring the hardest days of her life. The first few days in rehab were brutal. Mara's body trembled through painful withdrawal, and the emotional weight of her past mistakes nearly crushed her. She was overwhelmed by guilt, fear, and shame, but the clinic's counselors stood beside her patiently, guiding her through the storm. They helped her uncover the emotional wounds that had led her to addiction and taught her healthier ways to cope. In group therapy sessions, Mara found connection and courage among others who had faced similar battles. Slowly, she began to rebuild her self-worth, piece by piece. Lisa continued to visit regularly, offering updates on Marcus's recovery. Her words became anchors for Mara. "He's doing really well," Lisa would say with a warm smile. "He talks about you all the time. He's proud of you." Those simple affirmations gave Mara strength on the days when quitting seemed easier. 3 months later, Mara completed the rehabilitation program. She had taken the first critical steps toward reclaiming her life, with the clinic's help. She found a job stocking shelves at a local supermarket. Her new manager, Mrs. Thompson, knew Mara's story but chose to see her potential rather than her past. She offered support, flexibility, and a chance for Mara to start fresh. 6 months after Marcus's surgery, Lisa arranged their first supervised visit. Mara sat anxiously in the family services office, her hands trembling, her heart pounding with both hope and fear. When Marcus walked through the door, she gasped softly. He looked so different, healthier, stronger, his cheeks fuller and his smile brighter than she remembered. Without hesitation, Marcus ran into her arms. She held him tightly, whispering through tears, "I missed you so much." That day marked a new beginning. Over the following months, Mara proved her dedication and love with steady determination. She stayed sober, attended parenting classes, and worked hard to create a stable, loving environment. The court took notice, gradually. Her visitation rights increased, from supervised visits to unsupervised weekends, then to full custody hearings. A year after his surgery, Marcus was fully healed. The swelling and pain were gone, replaced by the easy laughter of a child who finally felt safe and free. Mara, once lost in addiction, stood tall with renewed purpose. She had reclaimed her life, and her son, Dr. Nolan and Lisa continued to check in from time to time, their presence a quiet thread woven into Marcus's story. Whenever they visited, they would find him outside, running, laughing, playing without fear. The once withdrawn, pain-stricken boy had transformed into a spirited child full of life. His joy was unmistakable, radiating in every movement, every carefree smile. Together, Dr. Nolan and Lisa would exchange a look, quiet, knowing. The journey had been long, filled with setbacks, small victories, and moments that tested the strength of everyone involved. But standing there, watching Marcus thrive, they knew they had helped rebuild something irreplaceable, a family, once fractured, now healing. One quiet evening, under the soft fluorescent glow of the supermarket aisles, Marcus stood beside his mother. The day was ending, the store nearly empty, and the shelves were being restocked in peaceful routine. He handed her a box of cereal, then paused, watching her with wide, shining eyes. "I'm glad you're better, Mom," he said simply. Mara froze for a second, her breath catching in her throat. She turned, knelt down, and wrapped her arms around him, pressing a kiss to his forehead. Tears welled in her eyes, not of sadness, but of gratitude and quiet triumph. "Me too, baby," she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. "Me too." And for the first time in a long, uncertain stretch of life, the future before them no longer felt fragile. It looked bright, lit by the steady, enduring light of love, the quiet strength of recovery, and the promise of new beginnings.